My heart said, I want to work in the prison system. I want to work with these incarcerated people. Incarcerated people deserve that opportunity to improve their mental health. I think it's about healing. And you're not the only ones that need it. I think everybody needs this. I'll never forget the first time I meditated. I felt so happy and so free. It was powerful.
Meditation has allowed me to walk my own path. What we get to do is maybe embrace all the aspects of ourselves.
We both kind of lived quite hard, and I think we took meditation as seriously as we took all the other stuff.
I did want to make Nowra the meditation capital of Australia. What's been really cool is to see the support of meditators from around the world.
I thought Barron had a really noble cause.
This young, bright man has gone back to his hometown and he wants to teach 1% of the population to meditate with this idea that there's a cascading flow-on effect.
If we can change the individual, then maybe we can change the collective.
He's one of those people that, hard to say no to.
Can meditation change the world?
Top of head.
That's what we're all out here trying to do.
Joh Jarvis is a regular inside this North Dakota prison. It's a place full of hardened criminals, and Joh's offering them, and the warders in charge of them, something most have never considered.
The first week that you learn meditation, this is my experience for myself, most people will have an experience, and by that I mean feel slightly different. Somebody who really annoys you, you won't have the same reaction, just stuff like that. You just start to feel better. Over time, you will become, your body, your physiology will not be carrying the stress to the same degree it is now. Eventually, you won't be carrying stress. Okay, so let's sit comfortably, back supported, eyes closed. And after about half a minute, gently come to the mantra. When the mantra slips away, don't hang on to it, just let it go. And when thoughts come and you remember, gently come back to the mantra.
I never knew nothing about no mantra. So this is what I thought meditating was. I thought I had to be, also that type of situation going on, But yeah, it's not that at all.
I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if incarcerated people would be interested, but not only did they want to do it, they got the technique really quickly.
Thinking the word over and over, the mantra, I was like, this is kind of silly. Then I gave it a second try. I was a little more relaxed, so it was a little less silly, and then as you put it into practice, it becomes easier, and it starts to do what it's supposed to do.
One of the things that meditation really helps, and I hear this from men all the time, is that they're way less reactive.
Now, instead of going out and sticking a needle in my arm, maybe I can go out and sit at a park or go and take some time for myself, even if it is only 15, 20 minutes, and be able to release the anger rather than letting it build up.
Everything about living behind bars is stressful, and there are plenty of reasons why tempers get short.
Yeah, I've been here going on 17 years now. I had a homicide charge. It's rough. It's hard being away from family and just being in an environment where you're being controlled. It's making me have a calm that I didn't have for the many years that I've been here.
Vedic meditation, which Joh practices, derives from a 5,000-year-old Indian tradition popularised in the West by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who famously taught the Beatles.
The Beatles learned to meditate in Rishikesh, India. Everybody knew about it. I would have loved to have been around in the 60s for that. I really would have loved it.
It's a technique to bring our awareness deep within ourselves to the source of thought.
Little man with a high-pitched voice coming out from India to bring this strange technique and he used to wear robes. He came out and people took to it.
The Maharishi went on to create a global organisation built around the method he branded Transcendental Meditation, or TM. Joh, though, despite her regard for his teachings, is part of a loose affiliation of Vedic teachers who operate separately from TM.
It's a remarkable story, really. I wish I'd met him.
Joh's personal journey into meditation ramped up 10 years ago, taking her life in a new direction.
It was a big decision to move to New York, leaving a good job, all my friends, my family, but I had wanted to live in New York since I was really young. I was getting close to 50 and I thought, if I don't do this, I'm never going to do it. I took the leap. It was absolutely terrifying.
Joh had abandoned a successful career in journalism to become a new meditation teacher in a city where she hardly knew anyone. So she turned to a mentor for some advice.
He said to me, if there was a cohort that you could teach, who would it be? And I responded really quickly, it would be incarcerated people.
She wasn't sure why she said that, but her mentor sensed Joh's hidden calling.
And he said, you should do that, go now. And he was absolutely right. I think I became a journalist because I wanted to improve things. I ended up just feeling completely disillusioned by it. I just didn't feel like I was seeing the world change at all as a result of what we were doing. Whereas with meditation, I feel like we're really getting to the heart of things.
In 2021, Joh created the Light Inside Foundation to build on the volunteer work she started at New York's notorious Rikers Island and to expand the project across other jails in the US.
It's a really alien environment. I've never felt in danger, but yet it's very dangerous if you're incarcerated in there. I credit meditation absolutely with giving me the resolve, the courage to do that. Through meditation, my whole world just opened up. I thought it has been unlimited. That's a great feeling. It's a really great feeling.
Joh's meditation practice can be done almost anywhere. It involves 20-minute sessions twice a day where you learn to sit and quieten the mind.
What you do is you receive a word, or it's a sound called a mantra, and you think this word easily and you let it go, and your mind likes it and enjoys the vibration, and it takes your mind deeper and it takes your mind inward and your body starts to relax. It's very simple. The immediate sense I had was, how could something so powerful be so easy? Because usually when something is powerful, you've had to work really hard for it. And this is not like that at all. It's like, gosh, that is great.
A world away from the streets of New York is the country town where Joh's friend Barron Hanson grew up. But here too is a population under stress.
Growing up in Nowra, it was just a place that I wanted to get out of. I was kind of embarrassed to tell people that I was from Nowra. It gets a bad rap. There's this Facebook pages dedicated to how much of a shithole Nowra is.
Barron found his escape in the bright lights of the Big Apple.
Because I was always just chasing the next big thing. My business partner, he was a meditator, and I think he found me sleeping under my desk in the office one too many times, maybe hungover, and gently nudged me in the direction of a local meditation teacher, which I went almost immediately. Within the first few days of that course, I started to feel the benefits of meditation, and so I've rarely missed a day ever since. That's been over 8 years now.
Erratic fire activity on the ground here, and
Barron returned to Australia in the midst of the black summer fires. His childhood home came close to burning down.
Firefighters are focused on protecting property in North.
My parents were preparing for a bushfire. I could see that they had aged. I could see that they had greyer hair. I could see the stress that they were holding in their physiology.
Nowra faced a triple whammy of trauma. First fires, then flood, then COVID. Unemployment is double the national average. The more Barron spoke to people he knew, the more he understood the problems ran deep.
High levels of domestic violence, high levels of substance abuse, high levels of low-level housing, and high levels of Aboriginal communities that need help, that have specific needs.
That was kind of the first realisation that Nowra could use something like this meditation practice.
After several trips to India and 3,000 hours of teacher training later, Barron opens Nowra's first meditation studio. But his ambition is bigger.
Top of head. It's this idea that if you can get a small group, as little as 1%, meditating, you can have a seismic effect through the collective consciousness. I thought maybe Nowra would be the perfect petri dish to see whether we can recreate one of these experiments.
And Barron hopes that what's come to be known as the Maharishi effect, if he can make it happen, could improve the well-being of everyone in his hometown. Meanwhile, Joh Jarvis is back in Australia to talk about the success of her project, plus her own remarkable story of being transformed by meditation.
What's it like being back in the ABC? I don't know, that's actually a little emotional. Strangely, it's been 10 years or something, so yeah. I was a journalist and I became a media executive. I hit it pretty hard in all ways. You know, I worked very hard and sometimes I drank too much and it really all took its toll. I was depressed, I was anxious. I was just not a happy person.
Joh's mental health deteriorated further after the sudden death of her younger brother Sam, something she didn't speak about for years.
My brother died when I was in my early 30s. He was 27. You know, it was shattering. I didn't know how to deal with the grief. Yeah. I mean, I tried a lot of things and I still didn't feel good. And I knew that meditation was one thing I hadn't tried. It just didn't appeal to me. But yet, when you're desperate, you'll do things that you might not otherwise do.
It's a rare event when Joh and Barron are in the same place. But this weekend, they've come together to host a meditation retreat in the Blue Mountains. And they've invited a mutual friend.
Gently open the eyes. Thank you.
The reason that we've asked Nicho to come along is Nicho is an initiator of Vedic meditation. He's been a very close friend of mine for a long time.
But more than that, Nicho's been a financial backer of both their projects.
As we know, there are people stressed everywhere, whether it's in Nowra, whether it's in daily life in general, or whether it's in a prison system.
I called Nicho and I was like, oh, you know, I've got this idea, I've got this thing, like, what if we recreated the Maharishi effect in Nowra, in my hometown? Nicho was like, yeah, cool idea, man, like, yeah, good stuff. And I have some funds put aside to support meditation projects and I want you to get started.
The trio got to know each other as Aussie expats in New York City.
Barron used to send me his girlfriends to learn meditation. I know a lot about Barron. I would describe Barron as a big thinker, someone who deeply cares about people and wants to change things. Really, there's no sort of sense with Barron that something can't happen. Everything's a possibility.
Joh Jarvis and I have very complementary personalities. Joh's a voracious ex-journalist, middle-aged woman. She's gay. She runs in this scene of media moguls. I'm this young upstart from Nowra. I don't know what it is, but we just work well together.
Nicho is the unlikely third member of this posse, a jet-setting 50-something businessman from Sydney's eastern suburbs.
I think before I had learnt Vedic meditation, there was a rather more extreme nature to my behaviour. When I did something, I really did it with full vigour, in a more obsessive way.
Like his passion for fast cars and custom-built motorbikes.
It's still a part of me that I love, and it's just a fantastic feeling. I do enjoy the speed. Sometimes people think that we learn to meditate, we change our lives. There's traits to our personality that somehow need to change. But in actual fact, what we get to do is maybe embrace all the aspects of ourselves.
Before learning to meditate, then becoming a meditation teacher, Nicho was living fast and loose on the back of the 90s tech boom.
I left Sydney when I was 24 and went to Hong Kong. Expat lifestyle, a lot of travel, a lot of fun. It was certainly burning the candle at both ends.
But it all came crashing down by 30 when he returned to Australia after a health scare.
One day I woke up in incredible discomfort and I was diagnosed with partial renal failure. Lifestyle based, it was a big wake-up call. I started to head down that path in terms of understanding different types of spiritual practices. It was stop-start. It wasn't till my late 30s that I learnt Vedic meditation, and I've meditated twice a day ever since I learnt.
Nicho and Joh Jarvis come from very different worlds.
Like your coffee strong?
But they bonded over their drive to spread the word about the benefits of meditation.
We've got a similar vibe in our personalities. And I think we took meditation as seriously as we took all the other stuff, you know?
As an investor in the Light Inside project, Nicho's keen to know how things are going.
The first bar you'll see is day one.
Today, Joh's talking him through the data she's been collecting on the prisoners' progress.
Now, if they are below the 25, that means they're in distress. They're really not feeling good. If they're down here at around 10, that's considered very serious. It's considered suicidal. Now, you'll see that he is really in serious distress when he answered on the first day.
You have your trauma coming back up. If you have trauma that you're dealing with, which a lot of people do in my experience, I've got loads of it.
On the fourth day, he's nearly up into wellbeing. So that's 4 days of meditation.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible.
It got a little stressful as far as, how I was feeling. But in my mind, I just said, let's just be grateful.
While the prisoners' results are encouraging, Joh's now turning her attention to the warders working alongside them.
I got to say, some of them are kind of resistant. Part of my job is to keep showing them that it doesn't mean that they have to sit around singing Kumbaya. I think they're suspicious and they're skeptical.
There's many studies out there that compare correctional officers to the military that are in active duty. And there's actually a lot of studies that show that correctional officers actually have more trauma than even those folks that are serving. Nobody wants to be here. Nobody wants to be in prison, so that's really, really stressful work.
Some people describe it as being like a tinderbox. So the idea of getting a proportion of the prison meditating is that you just bring down the friction in the place.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't believe the results.
Yeah.
Back in Nowra, it's day one of what Barron calls his Community Happiness Project, a month-long festival full of events designed to bring more meditators to the town.
We invite people from all over the world to come here and partake in different meditation practices. Just bring their conscious energy to this town.
But how realistic is it to make a whole town happier through the power of meditation? Over the past few decades, the Maharishi's TM organisation has been testing the concept of the Maharishi effect. They've organised and inspired more than 50 mass meditation events and produced hundreds of academic papers exploring its validity. The claims, including lower crime rates and reductions in things like domestic violence and hospitalisations, remain contested.
There's a lot of good science and some dubious science about meditation. I read it all, I consumed it all, I was fascinated by the science side of things.
So Barron's reached out for help to quantify his results from a clinical psychologist turned university researcher.
As a scientist, you can be sceptical about something like this, and yet We also know how much benefit there is on the individual level, and it makes sense that if people are psychologically well and acting with compassion and more aware of their reactions and how they respond to different situations, that it would have a knock-on effect. On one level, it makes a lot of intuitive sense, and so I was keen to support it.
Over the next 31 days, Barron's goal is to reach the desired threshold of 1% of Nowra's population of 25,000 people. So he needs to get around 250 people meditating each day.
And then during that month, does anything change? Does the crime rates go down? Do motor vehicle accidents get reduced? Do people present less at the hospital?
None of Barron's experiment would be possible without the backing of Nicho, who wasn't always such a philanthropist. He had an epiphany of sorts at a dinner with other meditation teachers, including Joh Jarvis, where he owned up to a past he now finds shameful.
In true Joh Jarvis way, she asked me across the table what I did. I found myself having to explain that I was involved in sports wagering, horse racing, etc. And I found myself somewhat embarrassed to actually say it. Once I learned to meditate, I sort of at that point decided that I would set up a way and a path out of that industry.
Nicho and Joh both say meditations help them find their way to a more rewarding life. It's all about following your intuition.
If you're meditating, you're deeply connected to your intuition. Your intuition is connected to everything. It's connected to consciousness.
There's this Vedic idea that when things are charming to us, it's an old-fashioned word, but it's kind of makes sense. When something feels good or we want to be part of it, then that becomes our cue to get involved.
You're getting pulled towards something that we would say is coming from nature. It's not your will, it's the will of the universe, and you're enacting it. That's why it has actual power.
Today is a watershed moment for Barron's experiment. Dr. Judy Pickard and her team have been tracking 35 of his meditation students to see how they're faring. The results are a pleasant surprise.
A significant reduction in depression, anxiety, stress, negative emotions and stress related to trauma. And then we've also looked at psychological wellbeing, self-compassion and flourishing and positive emotions, and we've found significant change in that as well, which is really exciting.
As soon as you feel the benefits, you're hooked.
I'm more compassionate, I'm more thoughtful.
Meditation is a really, really powerful and natural way of helping us to be calmer and cope with the things that life throws at us.
I started meditating when I was pregnant. Now we have her, and I can honestly say she is one of the most chilled out babies I've ever met. She's happy, she's relaxed, she barely cries or
It's kind of like brushing your teeth. You couldn't fathom going to bed without brushing your teeth. You can't fathom having a day without meditation. It just becomes your new normal.
So it's not like taking a pill or doing a one-off and then everything will be rosy. It's about consistency, and so it's not a quick fix, and yet it is definitely a beneficial effect.
Attendance at Barron's Meditation Festival looks like being only half of what he was hoping for. Not enough to reach that magical 1% of the population, but despite the disappointment, Barron's vowing to try again.
If we can change a few people's lives here in Nowra, if the quality of life goes up for a few individual people who are part of our project, then we've done a good job.
Barron's going out on a high, a sold-out night of meditation music where the young upstart from Nowra gets to share a stage with guitar superstar John Butler.
Before you said yes to this concert, what did you know about Nowra?
Hey, you don't know me. All I knew about Nowra was that between my American accent and my Australian accent, they just had a fight in my mouth every time I tried to say Nowra. I was like, Nowra. How do you say Nowra? Nowra. That's all it sounded like to me. Nowra.
The musician himself has been meditating since his teens, but it was hearing of Barron's big-hearted ambition for Nowra that clinched his decision to perform at the festival.
Like, that's what caught me. I was like, this young, bright man has gone back to his hometown and he wants to teach 1% of the population to meditate with this idea that there's a cascading flow-on effect, and I totally believe it. Make this a better place to be for everybody. I just feel like that's multi-generational legacy, and I really respect it. Big hand for Barron, y'all.
I call it tech, you know. As much as people like to see it as an esoteric, mystical thing, it's good technology. It's a good way to have mental hygiene, emotional hygiene, spiritual hygiene in this crazy world.
Our capacity to be healthy, for our physiology to be stress-free, for our brains to be working optimally, we all have a potential. That potential is unrealised in many ways.
Can meditation change the world? All I really know is my own personal experience, and that it's had a profound effect on me. You can't have a green forest without green trees. And if we can change the individual, then maybe we can change the collective. And that's what we're all out here trying to do.
You know, the journalist in me is almost reluctant to go, this is how you change the world. But I believe it. And the only reason I'm doing this is because it really makes an impact. And I want to be part of that.